YouTube, what the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here, back on Total War Rome 2. We're going to jump into a very interesting Iceni versus Suebi battle. I say it's interesting because typically you see a Suebi player use kind of like a weak center and strong flanks. And what's funny here is that the Iceni player actually kind of does that, except their center is interesting. It is weak, but it's interesting. Then the Suebi player is using fairly... They're not weak flanks, they're just weaker than you typically see from the Suebi, and a strong center. So let's run through the troops that you're going to see on the battlefield here today. So for the Iceni, it's going to be pretty easy. You've got a couple Levy, a couple Levy Freemen on either flank. The center is two Briton Scout Riders, a Chariot, a Heroic Rider. There's a Briton Slinger in the center, one on each flank. There's a Painted Warrior on each flank. There are two Chosen Sword Band on either flank. And there's also a Heroic Noble on each flank. Now for the Suebi, let's hit their build. I'll just kind of hit it from here. You've got two Spear Brothers, two Skirmishers. On one flank there's a Longbow and a Slinger, and on this flank I believe there's a Slinger and a Cimbri Bowwomen. Two Scout Riders on either flank, and then you got two Bloodsworn on either flank. And the center is four Swordmasters. Now, a couple of interesting things to note. So Swordmasters are not heavy infantry, they're only medium infantry. Painted ones have the scare trait, so they scare other units passively. On its face, that's not a huge deal, but if a general dies, or you get an outflanking charge, or combined with flaming arrows, or something like that, it can be a big deal. So yes, the Suebi have a strong center, and well supported but slightly weaker flanks in terms of offensive power, but they're more flexible because there's spears, there's some melee, there's some cavalry, and then the Iceni actually have the melee advantage on each flank with four sword units, three of which are heavy, and then one which has a good charge, and they are supported by spearmen as well. So definitely like the Iceni flank in terms of if it comes to a head-to-head engagement. I like these chariots, interestingly enough, right up front. Now, if they stray within javelin range, they will be dead meat almost instantly. Iceni chariots are way, way too fragile. These are not the heavy chariots of Rome 1 that could wreck enemy armies indiscriminately. That is definitely not the case. Now, over here, the Suebi gets a little bit impatient and takes this engagement, and I'm not really sure why. I don't understand what two Spear Brothers and two Bloodsworn are going to do against three heavy Iceni infantry and one light Iceni infantry with the scare ability. I just don't see this going well. Now, if the Scout Riders could support, possibly so, but they never made it around the back of the army before the engagement, and the Levy Freemen chased them off. MLG all the way. So yeah, you can see here the Iceni are going to start to take the better of this engagement, which means the Suebi are starting to load up some Swordmasters back in the center, and then the Iceni player knows that they can't allow these Swordmasters to reinforce that fight. Now again, remember that these Swordmasters have medium mass, so even though these Briton Scouts are only light cavalry, they're going to do more damage against a medium mass unit. These Chariots start to come in and then pull back because the unit in the background is going to throw some javelins, and they kill, I think, at least one Chariot there, maybe two. And the Chariots at first, to me, look like they're going to get absolutely slaughtered. They come in, they take a few more javelins and start dying in droves, and the unit just starts to instant waver. And they only had like 10 kills, and I was like, wow. Iceni Chariots just never pay off. Now, remember, though, this is a blob of nothing but Swordmasters. The Iceni Chariots are wavering this whole time, but just look at the discipline here from the Iceni player. Rather than just giving up, just keeps these things moving and moving and moving, and they just start wrecking and wrecking. And this loose formation of Swordmasters here just provides ample targets, and these units just surprisingly just kind of keep it coming and coming and coming. And they are just destroying Swordmasters here by the dozens now. And now they've actually probably paid for themselves. Here comes some flaming arrows, but again, even though they're wavering, just stayed in the fight for an impressively long time. Look at the number of kills on those Chariots before they routed. 150. Very impressive. So that's a ton of damage done to these Swordmasters, and it delayed them from this fight until the Iceni won. So very nice job by the Iceni. Now over here, just some engagements with the Heroic Rider. It's relatively safe. I think this Germanic Scout should have put more pressure there. Now again, in comes the Swordmasters, and we get a frenzied charge here by the Painted ones. These guys are not going to scare Swordmasters off the field, but this charge was not really well met by the Swordmaster, and these Painted ones are going to get a lot of kills on the charge against a very expensive unit and make themselves very worthwhile. So you can see those painted ones just kind of plowing their way in there, doing a very good job. And then intelligently, they're going to be pulled out and cycled around for another charge. So just on the front of this, you know, the Suebi build to me looked like it was going to have an easy win over the Iceni. That performance by the chariots and just kind of that disruption in the center was a very, very nice. I don't know if it was an accident or if it was on purpose or what it was, but it worked out great for the Iceni, and now they're in good shape. The Swordmasters over here have been significantly weakened. Now these Germanic Scout Riders decide to go for the Slingers over here, and that's probably not a bad choice. They're pretty good at this. But this heavy infantry over here is going to defeat the Swordmasters, and then the heroic riders of the Iceni land an excellent rear charge here and an already faltering unit of Swordmasters, and they are now off the field. And again, more charges coming from the painted ones. They're going to go out here and catch this spear unit that stood still. So the painted ones have racked up about 150 kills in this battle, maybe more. So these guys have provided a lot of great support. Now again, remember they carry the scare effect as well. So on a low morale unit, you can see it's already playing a big role here, wavering, losing current combat, and they're also going to be scared by the unit. Now over here, the Suebi go ahead and engage the Iceni, hoping to maybe gain some type of advantage, and their skirmishers are pouring fire into the fight. And, you know, the fight's actually going okay in some spots for the Suebi here. You got this Bloodsworn and this Chosen Sword Band just routed. Chosen Sword Band there struggling a little, but you got this Heroic Noble just kind of holding the line back here. 120 men, and it's not going anywhere. And at this point, the Suebi are having difficulty wrapping anything up. Their Scout Riders here got caught while they were trying to raid against the Slingers, and they're going to get destroyed by the Heroic Riders in melee combat. Even though they outnumber them about 2 to 1, the Heroic Riders are going to finish that off. The Suebi General is in some pretty dangerous combat here, and if he dies, just remember those painted ones that are around. It's going to be big trouble for the Suebi player, because losing a general as a Suebi is pretty tough anyway. But losing a general and then having enemy scare units around is going to be very, very bad for the Suebi. Very bad. So these, back in the back, those Heroic Riders have cleaned up the fight against the Germanic Scout Riders, and now they're going to roll in here on a rear charge, and they're going to cause some pretty significant damage to the Swordmasters when they come in. So let's watch this rear charge. Should get a good view of it here. So yeah, here it comes. Going to be riding down the Swordmasters. But yeah, the Suebi General, something glitched out. Sorry about that. I was in there a little too long. The Suebi General died, and then the painted warriors over here just ended up scaring away all the enemy troops. That was kind of weird. The replay didn't do that last time, so something a little funky happened there. So apologize about the end. Let's take a look at the statistics. It was, again, very well done there on the part of Sol Invictus. Looks like he's playing Bobby. Or Bobby, or whatever he goes there. But again, not a bad Suebi army here, but just a pretty nice use of the Iceni army. And I say it may have been part accident, but obviously you saw those chariots just never stop moving. And they ended up making a pretty big difference in the end. 151 kills, all on Swordmasters, which was really not bad. And again, you can see on the flanks here, the Iceni infantry really racking up a fair number of kills. And the Suebi, the Swordmasters, which were a lot of the killing power of their army, just not able to come up with a whole lot in that battle. And that was obviously the turning point. Really enjoyed this one. Hope you all did too. Appreciate it being sent in. If you all have any other replays you want me to look at, I do run behind a lot because I get a lot of them. But I'll try and catch up on them. And just go ahead and send me replays. It can be on any Total War game. You don't have to do it on Rome 2. It can be on Attila or others. Napoleon, Medieval 2, whatever you want. Just send it my way and I might take a look at it. So HeirofCarthage signing out for now. Hope you all enjoyed this.